So let's have a quick chat about my overall impressions of this Jack garden bed, and number one, how it compares to the round-ended Jack garden beds, which I like the idea of the space efficiency of the square-ended beds because you can basically put another square-ended bed right next to it and you're not wasting any space. So that is good, because one of the things I found in my garden is I'm wasting space with the rounded end garden beds, particularly the Jack rounded end garden beds. They have a very round end. It's not really a cornered kind of end. But that aside, the Jack round-ended garden beds have quite a lot more rigidity to them, I would say, just due to the way they're designed. They aren't quite as, yeah, they're a little bit more solid. Now, as far as the corner setups in these, in the past, I have seen a full plastic corner, and basically all that happens is the panels slide into the corner, and here what we have is we've actually got a metal corner, which I like the idea of a metal corner over, say, a flimsy plastic corner, and then it's got a cap on the top. And the thing that's cool about these caps is they've got a little hole here, which means you could probably build a little protector, or perhaps Jack sell a little protector that goes over the top to keep out the bugs or things like that. So that's kind of cool. However, I will say that I reckon the beds that go together where they just slide into the corners and really that's all that's required is an even simpler and in some ways probably better design than this. And I think part of the reason that they've used this kind of design is because the panels they use are pretty flimsy, they're pretty light. Now, again, does that really matter for a $60 bed? Maybe not. We will see how this goes, and it has the support in the center, and I can guarantee you that it needs this center support to stop the bed bowing, because as you can just see here, just a little bit of pressure on it and the bed is all over the place because of the length of these panels and how thin they are. And that's a combination of the fact that these panels are quite thin and the corrugations aren't very emphasized. So like if you've got a much deeper corrugation, it gives it lots of structural strength. If it's a very thin corrugation like these, a lot less strength. And they've kind of somewhat offset that with those metal corners with screws and bolts and nuts, but it's still a flimsier bed. Now, is that a problem for what we're going to be doing with it? I don't think so. We'll see. I'll do an update with one of these beds filled and give you a look at what we've put in it, which, as I said, probably going to be pumpkin or melon. We've got some grown from seed of both, and pretty excited to see how they go over summer. But for now, it's just going to be a matter of putting the other one of these together, which I reckon it's probably taken me 45 minutes. A pretty decent whack of that is taking the plastic off the panels, which is an annoying job. And I could definitely do it faster, but obviously having a bit of a chat to the camera while I'm doing it and kind of the things I'm noticing does slow things down. But probably half an hour is a pretty easy estimation of just dawdling through it. And you could probably do it a bit quicker if you were really smashing these things out. So yeah, there you go. Time to take this down into the garden, not get hit by a falling gum branch, and get on to the next one. If you got any questions, let me know down below in the comments. And for 60 bucks, I think this is all right. I was actually hoping to get the larger ones, which I thought it was 1800 by 600, so a little bit longer, a little bit wider, still in a square end, but those were sold out. And interestingly enough, when I went back and had another look to see whether they'd come back into stock last night, a lot of the Jack garden beds had actually sold. And so I think obviously them being fairly reasonably priced is definitely a winning proposition for them. But yeah, birdies are going to have some really tough competition on their hands, because from what I've seen, they've introduced a new line of beds and they're smaller, but I think they've done that to keep the price down. And I reckon maybe they're a bit too small without jumping up to the next price range. And I will do a comparison and a video like this on the new Birdie's garden beds in the future. But for now, that's it. So I've put my Jack garden beds in place. I have filled them with soil quite carefully, I would say as well. Basically, the bottom is following a hugelkultur method, which means a lot of quite thick sticks and twigs and branches that I've chopped up with a little chainsaw, my Makita chainsaw. And then on top of that, I put a bit of core from Ricardo's Tomatoes, the secondhand core. You can buy it really cheap, and that's good moisture retention. And then on top of, I basically did very gently use my little pitchfork here to just agitate everything down through those twigs so that they're not kind of just full of air pockets. Put some soil in, did the same thing again, everything was looking good. And then I put my final couple of buckets, maybe 100 litres of soil, in on top of the bed. And it's not totally full, but there's a good amount of soil in it, I would say, for what we're planning on growing, which is melons in this one. However, the bed is bowing hugely. Now there's a support on the top here, which is obviously holding the top of the bed together, which is good because I don't know that this would have any structural integrity without that support beam. But in the middle there, it has really bowed out. And while those teeth are holding, I can see if they were to rust away, the bed would probably fall apart in the middle. And to be honest, I kinda would want the bed to be a little bit more rigid than this. I wouldn't mind another support perhaps in the middle to give it a much better structural integrity where those two panels meet, because I don't think it's really strong enough as it is here. We shouldn't really be seeing that level of bowing. And the other beds I bought, the other cheap beds I bought, they've all done it by only running, say, 1.2 meters long in a single panel. But with this, because they're joining two panels, it does appear to be a bit of a weak point. And it's worth noting because obviously one of the big things with buying an expensive or a more expensive metal garden bed is how long it's going to last. That's kind of important to me. Otherwise, I'd just buy the $30 beds. But that is a little bit of a surprise, to be honest.